Hey everybody. This video is going to be a little different than what I normally do. But stay with me here and I'll kind of go over a few things. On this video, my buddy bought a race car, as you can see here. And I've built my fair share of race cars and rebuilt my fair share of race cars, and I know my way around them, especially these full bodies. So there's things I want to go over with you guys that are thinking about buying one from someone that's a home stick built chassis like this car right here is. And then a few things that go over other little details that you need to check even on a good built race car. You know, like a Franklin chassis or an S&S or what have you. So this is a few things. Personally, I would have after looking at this car, I would have walked away. And he got a pretty good deal, but yet there's so much to do that it kind of kills it for the deal that he got. So we'll go over it. Now, I don't want to drop that. That's for Cummins. All right, so we're going to start with things to look at on a home stick built chassis here. The welds. You see that weld right there? That should be one solid pipe. That should not be a spliced pipe, for one. I mean, let's face it, all these bars should be one solid bar. They should not be spliced like that one. You know, that should be solid. Shouldn't have that weld there. We come over here and just inspecting these welds. I know it'll be a little harder for you guys to see with the shine from the light and everything, but these welds are pitted, and they're back cut, and right here there's no penetration at all. There's a huge hole right there, and as you continue along, they barely have any weld at all on this bar right here. You can see that hole right, if I can get that light just right. There we go. See that little pinhole. And then you can see that as you continue on, over here, it's back cut real bad on the weld. And so forth and so on, all the way down. These welds right here, both of them, just absolutely atrocious. So, check your cages, check your welds, and I'm gonna have to grind all these welds out and re-weld every bit of it, because I don't trust them. For this season, I'm gonna go ahead and just let them rock this bar. When the season's over, I'm cutting this bar completely out and welding in a new one-piece bar here. And that pretty much goes over the cage. You just really want to look at all the welds. You know, you don't want to see shit like that. Yes, that's a hole. That's where it's not welded at all. I mean, that is not going to hold shit. Luckily, it's in the front of the car, but it still ties in with the cage, you know. And he had gussets, which is nice because his welds suck so bad, but he didn't even put the gussets in the right damn spots. You know, that gusset ain't gonna do shit. It needs to be over here, not up here. That ain't gonna do crap. You know, it's this bubblegum mess right here. See if I can get the camera in there. See that bubblegum mess? And the same for that crossbar. So forth and so on. I gotta get my welder. I gotta get 220 wired up in my shop and get this ground out and weld it up before next week. So that goes over cage safety. Check your welds for cracks and shit welding like this thing has. If I would have been there to look at this car with him, I would have said, head home, walk away. This is a donor. I mean, go find another chassis. This is rough at best. All right, since we're on the subject of safety, steering columns. Check your steering columns. Now, in today's racing world, they have collapsible steering columns where it's a solid shaft with a slip. And if you get in a bad race, and anywhere through from point A to point B up there, if you get hit and it bends this frame, this bar will slide inside itself. And that protects the driver from getting a solid steel rod shoved through his freaking chest. This hodgepodge of old school technology is what I will call it, is atrocious. Like, this isn't safe. I mean, it'll work for a pure stock, yes, but I would highly advise staying the hell away from doing that. Running basically a factory column that's welded crappily, I might add, and no slip yoke. It's been welded in. It's been welded solid there. As you can see, not a very pretty weld either. That's going. Like, I told him, we're not doing anything, getting rid of that. We'll weld in a correct one with a slip, and well, he's safe. Owner, so there's another safety issue. And while we're on the topic of steering and safety issues, I'm not crawling underneath this thing again, but under the dash, if I can get a light to where you can see, you see that gear in there with the chain? That is actually an old NASCAR trick for quick steer. An old dirt track trick for quick steer. Basically, there we go. Basically what's going on here, if I can get my light to stick, it won't. So basically what's going on here is this shaft over here, if this thing will focus, there you go. All right, so this shaft right here is running up in here to this gear, and then this gear, it's on a gear, and it's mounted on another shaft, kind of like how this is right here, so the wheel can turn, or so it can rotate around. There's no bearings or anything in there. It's just literally setting in there. And then they welded a gear on the end. They looped a single loop chain and another gear on this shaft. And they used that for a quick steer. So this one's got if I remember right, this has got a small sprocket on this shaft, and on the shaft that goes to the steering box, it's got a large sprocket. Which they're backwards. This one should be a large and that one should be a small. And so they've pretty much slowed the fucking steering down on this thing. I'm sitting here turning the wheel. Turning. Look at this. You can't race that. That is also another safety issue. Not having your system connected by gears, by having it hooked up by an old ass chain. We're getting rid of that. We're putting in a correct quick steer. We're going to go 2-to-1. So 2-to-1 means for every one turn of the steering wheel, you get 2 turns of a steering box. So if this right here is straight, that's straight. Half a turn, the way it is right now, that's all you get. Well, with 2-to-1, that half turn is going to be here. So your steering is going to be super quick. Having super quick steering is going to help you. It can do two things. If you're not used to it, it can cause you to wreck. I mean, you gotta learn how the car is going to steer. You oversteer the car if you're not used to them. Steering quickener like that 2-to-1 actually can save your ass when it comes to someone spinning out right in front of you. You can just turn quick. You can turn quick, get out of it. You can get down low, you can get up high, and then get back around. Steering quickener is so much safer, and I don't know why they outlawed them in pure stocks for so long. And now my local areas all allow a pure stock to run a steering quickener. So that's another point that you need to check. They say it have a steering quickener in it. Find out what it's got. And if it's that shit, prepare to buy a new steering shaft and a quickener. I suggest a 2-to-1, but a 4-to-1 will work for the newbies and whatnot. Even a 6-to-1 helps out. That's what I started with, was a 6-to-1. I hated it. I got a 2-to-1, took a little bit to get used to, about 5 laps, got used to it, and it saved the front end of my car multiple times. Clutch pedals. All right. I'm just going to talk about that for this one. A lot of people use hydraulic clutch pedals. Wheelwood makes a hell of a setup, and Speedway makes a reservoir and a master cylinder that, a master cylinder and a slave cylinder that is cheap. You can buy the whole pedal setup. That's a Wheelwood pedal, a Speedway Motors master cylinder, reservoir, and a Speedway Motors slave cylinder. The whole kit, everything ready to be welded to bracket up and then put it in for $150. You cannot beat that with a stick. You can also get it with a Wheelwood reservoir, which is what I've always done on my race car. But for the sake of this being a cheap build, we're going that way. This guy used an old mechanical style clutch, and he used rebar. Well, you see the pin here on the side of the motor for the linkage and everything to mount to. It's 2020, guys. This old school crap has no point on being on a race car. That is something that's just adding weight in the wrong areas. More moving parts in a rough environment leads to more chances of that failing. They just snap onto the little ball. Easily can come off. So we're going to remedy this with the Wheelwood and Speedway Motors setup. All right, coming on to rear end. I've got a light back here. Excuse my shop, it's a mess. I've had no time to clean. Rear end. This has got a factory, it's supposed to have a I forgot what it was, 9-bolt Chevy or something like that, 10-bolt. I don't remember. But this is supposed to be a race car. Those are factory springs. Both sides. That side, the shocks broke off on. This side, they've made Heim mounts for the shocks. Those are illegal. Can't run those. You can run them in street stock, but can't run them in pure stock. Or, I don't know about USRA stock cars. I need to read up on my rules on that. But pure stock, that's a no-no. Luckily, he left the original mount up top so we can put original mount shocks on there. So it's another thing you need to check out. Your rules on what you're going to be racing and what they allow. And then see what that car has. Stock springs, those are garbage. You need to get rid of them. It's got it in the front and the rear. Another safety thing. Check out the way the fuel cell's mounted. This is not safe. I mean, I'm gonna have to redo that. And you can't even get the trunk off. Like, it's still on the hinges. There's added weight that we don't need in locations that we don't want. Cruising around to the front. Brakes. Look the brakes over. It ain't hard to jack one up and check the brakes. This thing looks like it's been sitting underneath a creek for a month, you know, for several months. This is froze solid. I mean, you can't turn it. Check your lug nuts as well. He's got 1 inches up here. He's got standard over there with 1 inch, and they're all over. But they're still running the stock, the absolute stock studs. I drill all mine out and put in 1 inch studs. Safety issue. I broke these and damn near broke my neck in a wreck because of these stupid damn things. I go 1 inch no matter what. Check your steering. Make sure it's tight, you know, before you go out racing. This thing's got a sway bar on it. It still has a fucking sway bar on it. There's no point in having this sway bar. It's getting cut and yanked out of there. All right. It also has stock springs in the front, FYI, and stock shocks. So those are going bye-bye. More safety things that you need to check on your race car before you make your purchase. That's plastic, acrylic line. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with the plastic acrylic line. It works really nice whenever you're hooking up clutch lines and brake lines and stuff like that. But whenever you use it, just be prepared to know that you're going to have to replace this every few years. You never use it as fuel line. Yeah, I know. It's regulated. Yeah, it can be used for fuel line. Can't be in a race car. That's a no-no. That needs to be rubber, no matter what. Or the protective woven style, where it's got, you know, it's rubber with woven over the top and plastic on the outside, or double layer woven like fuel injection. That has to be replaced, because look where it's running. It's not even tight. You see that? Not even tight. That, you know, it doesn't take much in a car that's bouncing around to hit that exhaust manifold, and now you've got a problem. Look right here. It's shoved up underneath the control arm. Underneath the control arm. You don't do this stuff, guys. This is how you get killed. This is a no-no. This, and it routes through the inside of the car. There's no cockpit here. And that fuel line runs right here. So if it ruptures up there, that fire is going to melt this plastic acrylic shit real quick, and it's going to be blowing flames all over your ass. That needs to be addressed. That hole needs to be addressed. I mean, it just needs a patch panel thrown over it. But look here. They've got this acrylic rubbing on this damn sheet metal right here. That's going to cut it in half. That's a no-no. If you're going to run it through your cockpit, that needs to be rubber for one. That needs to have a grommet run through it. And then it needs to be tied up, not with duct tape, which is what they done. Electrical tape, actually. It needs to be tied up on the cage, and you need a cockpit built in here. If I was teching your car before you went out onto the track, I would tell you just load it up, go home, if you had this set up. We're going to relocate that inside the frame rail where it belongs. So there's another safety issue that you need to address. I think I've got most of the safety issues that I've found. Oh, no, there's a big one. By rules implemented a long time ago, your accelerator pedal must have a bar running over the top of your foot as well. So in case of throttle stickage, spring falls off or whatever, you can pull the throttle up. As you can see, that's as stock can be throttle pedal, accelerator pedal, whatever you want to call it. That'll get you kicked out of the racetrack quicker than anybody I've ever seen. You got to be dumb as hell to run this. You're relying on one spring maybe 2 springs. If something happens and that spring breaks, gets knocked off, or your throttle just sticks wide open, let's say you get in a wreck and a car hits on top, breaks these springs off, breaks this right here off, but this thing goes full wide open, there ain't gonna be no stopping it. If you're knocked out in the car, you can't shut it off. You're headed for the wall or a crowd. You know, you gotta have your damn safety switch. I've seen people get run over because they've run this shit. That's why they are outlawed. You can't run it. We gotta get an accelerator pedal in here, welded up correctly, and get the linkage, build the linkage to make it work. You know, it'll land in here and come out and be a solid rod that runs to this. We can do it back and forth. This is just temporary. I mean, that's not a correct way to mount it. This is just temporary to hold it shut for me right now. So I think that is all the safety infractions that I've found on this car so far. Next thing to do when you're looking at a race car, jack it up, wheel by wheel. You know, it's got a lock. And you wanna jack the whole rear end up, make sure it's got a locker in it. As you can see, this sumbitch locks solid. There's a problem we gotta address. It's locked solid, can't use that. This side is free. You see how much slop is in that damn... I don't think it's got a locker. What I think it has in it is I think they welded the damn gears together, the spiders together, and they're breaking. This rear end probably isn't gonna last long, especially if having that much slop. If it's not welded and it's actually got a locker in there, he's gonna be lucky because I have 3 or 4 of them damn things sitting on the shelf. So eventually, Ford 9's going underneath that. Best thing Ford ever built, if you ask me. Alright, so there covers safety infractions, rear end information. Find out your gears. They don't know. You know, if it's a stock rear end, you're gonna be screwed on gear ratios. I mean, the best you can get to 410. If you're on a little bull ring, you know you're gonna be limited 410 second gear in the manual. Second gear in automatic. If you're on a 350 turbo, put it in second. Don't run it in first. They burn up. I'll go over 350 turbos real quick. First gear. The pump is pushing too hard to maintain a first gear, and you heat the fluid up. No matter how much cooling you put on there, you're going to heat the fluid up, and you're going to burn it up. Second gear is the gear you want to race in. It's kind of it mixes between too much pump pressure and not enough pump pressure. It ends up working, and the transmission ends up living a lot longer than it will in first gear. Third gear, you don't want to run it in third. It's not designed to be torqued on hard in third gear. So if you put a 650 ratio gear in the rear and you're running it in high gear, in that automatic, it's not pushing enough fluid in third. It doesn't have enough power to push the pump isn't designed to push that much fluid in third gear. And it heats the fluid up, it burns the pump up, and then you smoke the damn transmission out. I've seen it happen way too many times. I've run one 350 turbo in first gear, I smoked it. I put a second 350 turbo in it, and it still lives to today after several years of hard racing in second gear. So second gear, if you're running 350 turbo, if you're running a Saginaw 3-speed, it's always high gear, because that's 1-to-1. You change your gear ratio in the back. You want to have a Ford 9. This one will end up running in second gear, unfortunately, because of the gear and the ratio and everything that we can get for a stock 10-bolt. Checked over the brakes. All right, now motors. When buying a used race car, if it comes with a motor, this one's a brand new motor. I pulled the valve cover off. It's clean in there, so it's believable that it could be new. It could also have the shit ran out of it and it'd be blowed up. We don't know because it won't start. Why won't it start? The starter's screwed up, and their wiring is all screwed up. So that's another thing you want to take into consideration. Look at the gauges. Look at the condition they're in. Be prepared to just put new gauges in regardless. So put money aside for that. And wiring. Just be prepared to buy a new push button and flip switch. And be prepared to wire it all in. And your master kill, which is regulated to be by the driver's head over in that corner. This one is right here. That's a no-no. That gets you kicked out now because they're now being regulated to happen to be over there. So that's where they're supposed to be. They tack you with it sitting there, you'll get in trouble most likely, depending on how strict your track is. My track is pretty lenient, but the other track I go to is that'll park you because they can't get in there and shut you off, basically. Make sure the motor will start and run before you buy it. If it comes with a motor, you want to be able to hear it. If you can't hear it, you're buying a roller. I don't care what they say. They give you paperwork saying, oh yeah, you know, this motor, I bought it a few weeks ago. It cost me $3,800 for this motor, and it's built, and these are the specs and everything. If you can't hear it run, you're buying a roller and you're gambling on that motor. Right now, you know, we're gambling on this. I got to get it running. I got to change out the starter on it, and so forth and so on. Another safety thing you want to check is your motor mounts. These were, once again, grade A hack job of building a motor mount. And they did it wrong, and the motor sets too far to the right. The way I build mine, I build a post down there. And then I have what everybody uses on modifieds, a little L bracket. And then you can center your motor or push it further left or push it further right. And doing it that way, it helps you scale the car out some more. You know, you get your weight set where you wanted and your spring set, and you get everything where you think it needs to be, and you get it on the scale, and it's like, oh, well, I need to move an extra 50 pounds to the right or an extra 50 pounds to the left. You can unbolt that motor and take a bar and just kind of scooch it over and then shake the car on your scales and see where it lands. You can actually use this to your benefit. You can use this heavy weight and move it where you want within inch and between an inch and 2 inches of play on those bars, and then cinch it down once you get it scaled out. Beautiful idea, works really good. I would suggest doing it if your class rules allow it. Power steering pumps. Get rid of the factory one. Get you a sweet pump, little mini pump. They're not that expensive. They work 10 times better, and they can handle high RPM. This will throw belts. As you can see, this belt's not even routed right. So check that. Cooling. God, there's a lot to go over on this thing. Cooling. Look at the way the radiator's set up. Look at what kind of radiator you have. This is a first for me. Yeah, that's right. Dual radiators. He's running a 28 on the front, and then what looks to be a V6 truck or car radiator in the back, a single core radiator. So he could have ran a larger radiator in the front and got away with it, but he's got a dual radiator setup. I kind of like the idea in theory, but that radiator is going to get hotter because it's blocked airflow. That fan's not going to be able to pull through both these radiators as well as it would be able to with one big radiator. But, well, plus that water pump, it's a factory water pump. It's not going to be able to push this kind of volume. But we'll see how it goes. And then if she gets hot, we'll ditch that whole system, get a good one in there. So I think that's all the things I can go over. You know, kind of check your cage, check for cracks, check for shit welds. Just really look your car over. Scott didn't look over this car. And I was hoping it would be $1,000 to get it on the track, and we can get it on the track for $1,000, but it's gonna be a back runner for sure until we get, you know, another $800-900 worth of shocks and springs and wheels and tires and gauges and the list goes on. So steering shaft. So now that everybody knows what I've been doing, I've been busy trying to get a list on this thing. I've been working on other stuff. You know, I've got my regular shop going on where I've got customers calling me to do roadside repairs, farm repairs. I've been fairly busy lately just helping people out. I haven't had time to do the farm sim modding stuff or anything like that. So this is kind of your update video on that, and seeing what I'm actually working on. And hopefully, we're hoping to have this out next Friday. If all things go well, it'll be out on the track next Friday. If all the parts come in, I get my welder, you know, lined up and everything like that. So, thanks for watching. Hit that like, subscribe button. It helps me out. I would sure love to make more videos like this for everybody, showing the steps of how to put in that clutch and everything else to get your race car ready. And I'd love to make videos like that and make a little money off YouTube, even if it's, you know, 25, 30 bucks. You know, that'll help me get an editing program so I can actually edit these videos down and do cool angles and stuff like that and use multiple cameras instead of using my damn phone. So, thanks for watching. We'll catch you later, and stay good.